Gang gets coronavirus.
And we're live. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Bad Mage Live. I am Chris Medina, and with me, as always, is Michael Conroe. Always this time appropriate because it's the second time we've done this.
Yeah, I was about to say, is this episode 4 of Bad Mage Live, or is it episode 2 of Bad Mage Live, episode 4 of the greater Bad Mage podcast arc?
Yep, that's more accurate.
That should be the official title.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're trying to limit ourselves to 30 minutes, so let's jump right into it. I hear congratulations are in order. We haven't been playing very much, but we did know we were going to push for Masters, and you successfully did it. So, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
What were you playing? How was your climb? What did you play against?
it's my climb. I feel like I didn't play that much in Diamond. I honestly haven't played ranked a ton, like compared to some of the people I watch stream at all. But yeah, I think I was Diamond the time we did our last episode, and I basically climbed with 3 decks through Diamond to Masters. D4 to D3, I played Vladimir for some reason.
Okay.
I think I was literally going insane one night and just like jamming games over and over again. Somehow I ended up +5 and went to bed.
We've all been there. Okay.
Yeah, so there I'm D3. D3 to D2, I played the Allegiance Elusives deck. I hated it. I hated it so much.
The Allegiance Elusive deck. That's with the Wayfinder.
Yeah.
The one that Zixo popularized.
Omenhawk. Yeah, that's just Zixo Elusives.
The best deck in the format.
I mean, I agree to some extent, but I hate it so much.
Okay.
That is just like, I don't know, maybe I just haven't played with enough Elusives, but I would play the mirror like all the time. It felt miserable.
Were you?
Either way.
Yeah, alright.
I mean, it got me to not worth. Don't sell your soul for that. So then I randomly picked up a deck that I first saw on Navi's stream, which was like 37 Demacia cards and 3 Zeds. I'd played lists that were similar based on elites earlier.
Yeah.
This one cut that. It was like Lucian Zed. A lot of kind of like challenger trick type stuff. Like there's the Fleet Feather Trackers, and you have like War Chefs and Bright Steel Protector. It was just like a really aggressive Bannerman deck, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very high win rate with that. I went 11-1 into Masters. Honestly, it felt like I was favored against everything because I was winning so much. Realistically, I know it's not the case, but I had a lot of success with that deck, especially against Elusives and Hecarim, which surprised me because every Demacia deck I've played is terrible against Elusives.
Yeah, so I haven't had that experience. As the Elusives player, I usually win against that matchup, and I did take your advice after you hit Master, and I tried to play the deck, and I had a miserable time with it against both Hecarim and Elusive decks. I didn't feel like that. I don't feel like the deck is capable of beating the card Hecarim. I'm not sure how you did it. That's a story. I mean, you should have recorded some of your games so I could have learned some tips there, because Hecarim feels miserable to play against with that deck.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, you're definitely slanted than theirs are these days. Like they're still skipping their 1-drops.
Yeah.
And what it usually means is when they're going into their turn 6, they don't have any spell mana banked or not a lot of spell mana. So a lot of times, in my experience, I could either like they would play Hecarim if they had the attack token, and if you answer with Cytheria, like there was nothing they could really do about it. They would just kind of have to pass back. Or if you had the attack token, sometimes you could threaten it with the 5/4 challenger, with like a War Chefs or something. But I agree, Hecarim was their best card outside of maybe Skitterer. Like those two are very good against you. I don't know. I had a lot of success for some reason. Like Radiant Strike was really good in that matchup a lot of the times, and I feel like your guys got a lot bigger than theirs did, and they're not really like you can actually interact with their stuff, unlike elusives, because their guys just have fearsome, and you actually have creatures that can block that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Elusives,
I've also
you know,
played a lot of Bannerman decks, right? So, and I think a couple episodes ago we even talked about it, how we felt Demacia decks were probably good against the fearsome strategy. So most of the deck makes sense to me. It's just that the Hecarim specifically seems a little difficult. But I do get what you're saying, where my guys, in theory, can block all of their threats. It's not really that big of a deal. The glimpses are a little frustrating, right, when they're refilling. I don't know.
yeah, Glimpse sucks because you don't have realistically any way to stop it. Like there's a couple of single combats in most lists. Doesn't even feel like a good use most of the time. Like I feel like most of the time I just let them glimpse. My hope was that the pressure kind of mattered more, and like that they just wouldn't have that many turns to profitably glimpse. I guess
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how I beat elusives is the real question. Like I must have had. I think Zed is the most important card in that matchup because he's the only one that can realistically pressure them to the point where you can race them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, Zed Bannerman's good. Zed War Chefs is good in that matchup.
Yeah.
I didn't play Senna at all. I know people have gone back and forth on that at this point. I honestly don't know if it's good or not. I think that's something I want to try at this point. But the original list I saw didn't play Senna, so I took that. And like I said, I was winning so much I didn't feel the need to change it.
Yeah. Are you gonna push for like top one? I mean, even if it only lasts for a second.
I think I want to at some point. I've been, like I said, taking a break, but I've been kind of just playing a little casually because there's no real reward at this point.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's like I wanted to top 100, and then I was like, well, I could play like a lot of games to get to one, but if I lose once, I lose like 200 ranks, or I could just do whatever I want, basically.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Fair enough. I was kind of forced to take a break. I went on a business work trip for almost a week, and then I got sick. May or may not have contracted corona.
Definitely mad.
So that was unfortunate. I will say it's a little frustrating not having access to a Mac Runeterra client. It's a frustration that I didn't really, I guess I didn't have until this trip, right? So my company gives us a MacBook, and that's all I took to travel. I'm aware of Riot's interesting relationship with Mac OS from a development standpoint. League of Legends came out, they didn't support Mac OS. Then there was an unsupported version that Riot helped release, but they always said it was unsupported. Then it was supported briefly, and then they removed support. I think last year they had this long post about why they're not doing it, because it's costly to manage dual development life cycles, etc. So now they're back to not officially supporting it for any of their products. So I really only have the mobile platform to look forward to, and even that's not slated till later on this year. So if I have any other work trips, which are more than likely canceled due to the coronavirus, a lot of my work trips have been canceled because of that.
It's lucky.
Yeah, so more Legends of Runeterra, I suppose. But yeah, so I started playing again recently, and I'm kind of, I don't want to say stuck, but it doesn't really feel like I'm making progress, or it's definitely not gone as smoothly as your transition into Master. I'm constantly floating in between, honestly, anywhere from D1 to D3 to at some point D4 today, back up to D2, but kind of all over Diamond, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll get there with a ton of games maybe, but it doesn't feel encouraging. There was a day you and I were talking on Discord a couple of days ago. I can't remember when it was, but I was like, I think Runeterra Deck Tracker said I had like a 91% win rate, and I was like, "Well, this is amazing." I went straight from D4 to D1, like 80 LP, and then I could not get there, and that was even more frustrating.
Yeah, no, I thought that was the day that you're gonna get there for sure.
I
Like,
did
you were
too.
on a real heater.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, playing elusives too. 91% win rate. It was insane. But I didn't, unfortunately. So now I'm flip flopping decks, and I'm not sure if that's the right strategy. Or I mean, you have to flex based off what you're
Definitely
seeing.
not the right strategy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, my biggest regret is not playing Shadow Isles at all in my like Diamond to Masters.
That's your
climb.
biggest regret. I mean, that seems like the biggest success
That's
story.
that's like, you gotta stay loyal. I'm day one supporter.
And you did not, all from Diamond to Master. So.
Oh yeah. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer, type deal.
Apparently, keep your enemies so close they become your best friends.
Oh, yeah. That's all a charade.
Yeah.
Now back to my Shadow Isles ways.
Oh, are you? You're not eating dinner with Garen anymore?
Oh, I never played Garen. Right?
No, you didn't play Garen, but you're representing his faction. Okay. Hey, Lucian. Yeah.
Yeah, more of a Lucian.
Grabbing some Korean barbecue with Lucian over there, just hanging out.
I mean, I think what's important is recently I've been playing some Draven, right? Because you were talking about Lucian. And we've talked about this before, but why does Draven's biggest fan sound so much more emotional if Draven dies than Lucian?
It is comical. It's comical. I mean, Lucian and Senna, lovers forever. They die. It's a little sad. Draven's biggest fan dies, and my heart breaks. I'm like, oh my god, like blood curdling scream.
I don't know who the voice actor was for that, but he really got into it. Like, I feel the pain.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, job well done. Hats off. All right.
If someone's pointing a removal spell at Draven, I think you should just kill your Draven's biggest fan in response.
So you don't have to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you said you've been taking a break, but are you still keeping an eye on the meta? Presumably, you're still watching streamers. You're still reading the competitive LOR subreddit. You're still keeping your finger on the pulse of the game, right? Seeing what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I literally still play every day while watching streams. So like, it's just I've been playing like normals and expeditions instead of ranked.
Mm.
I should just be playing ranked because there's, like I said, there's nothing to grind for, but there's also no downside to being the last place Masters player. But yeah, every time I see like an interesting new deck, I play it for like 3 games at least to see like, is this a swim meme deck or is this like something that might actually be real?
Yeah.
Probably get better results watching like Hyped. I usually know those are real.
I think Hyped is I don't know if we've talked about this on stream, but it's an interesting topic. So, well, that's the digression. We'll come back to that later. So let's talk about the meta, right? Let's stay on topic and focus. How does the meta look right now? What are you seeing a lot of?
So what I'm seeing a lot of is, and it's mostly through streams. I saw less of it in Diamond players because they're probably trying to climb. I see a lot of like random control decks. I see a lot of Heimer X or like Karma X or even Ezreal to extent. And that's like, do you want to call that controller combo? I don't know, but
which deck?
I see a lot of the Ezreal, like any of them, basically.
Yeah, I think they're more. I think they're combo. I think they're a definition of combo control.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's Ezreal's like level up trigger kind of makes you play a control deck, and then he is a combo.
Right.
Position.
Yeah.
But either way, like I've seen a lot of those 3, like Spooky Karma, Karma Lux, Heimerdinger anything, and like Ezreal anything. I personally have seen less elusives and less Hecarim decks, but I think my speculation is those are still like some of the best decks, but streamers don't want to play those anymore because they've played them a lot and their viewers don't want to watch them, is my guess.
So it's interesting. That implies that the entire meta is being dictated by less than 1% of the player, like 0.003%, right? And that number is just made up, right? But there's very few Runeterra streamers is the point.
Well, I think in my experience, if you watch streamers and actually hang out in Twitch chat,
yeah,
a lot of the Masters players are in there, And so like masters, like the people that are like really into it kind of have their own meta where they're playing these decks. From my experience on ladder, you're just going to play against the decks that are actually good, which is like played against elusives all the time, the fearsome Hecarim decks a lot. I would see a little bit of control, definitely less than before. I saw a lot of like Piltover and Zaun, like Noxus aggro, or like the Spiders deck. Like those are the decks I feel like are actually easier to climb with. One, the games are quicker, and
Do you think that's still the case? So the reason I say that is because in my experience lately, ladder is predominantly control, right? And when I'm playing like the Shadow Isle, Ionia, like control deck, harrowing, ruination, or I'm playing an Ezreal deck, I don't really think I can. It doesn't feel like I can lose to creature based decks. Like I really have to stumble to lose those games.
also because I don't know, it's like the biggest first world problem. Like it took me so few games from D2 to Masters that I didn't see a lot of the meta. But like the deck I was playing is not good against control decks, and I just didn't play against any. Like that is a deck that has very little refill. It's basically just Vanguard Redeemer if you play it, and like your Swiftwing Lancers might give you a good card. It's kind of like your card advantage.
Right.
So I think control decks are very good. I still think Elusives is the best deck in the meta.
I do too, if it means anything.
And I think Elusives is actually pretty good against control decks for the most part. And I think the Hecarim decks also have better tools against control decks where, depending on what the control deck is, like they force you to have very specific answers on specific turns, right? Like they have a Hecarim, you have to deal with it because it's so much damage.
Yeah.
And then if they have a Rekindler, you need to deal with that too. Like that might force out a Ruination.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have like your Heimerdinger going or something. And then if you ever use their Ruination and they blindside you with a Harrowing, a lot of times you just die on the spot. So I think, I don't know, I think control decks are good against a lot of the decks people are messing around with, like usually these Demacia decks, but I think the actual good decks, which I would classify as Elusives and Shadow Isles, are still pretty good against them.
Yeah, so I agree with most of what you're saying. A quick rundown of what the meta snapshot broke down this week. Fearsome Rally, Shadow Isle, Demacia, Elusives, right?
Presumably just Zixo Elusives.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. PNZ, Shadow Isle, like a Prankster burn deck. I've seen that deck a lot. I don't actually think it's very good, but I mean...
It's the meta breakdown from Swim.
Yeah.
That's like a Swim deck. I don't think that's a good deck, personally.
Yeah, I don't...
It's okay.
I don't either. Lux Control, I see that enough. I also am unimpressed with it. Heimer Control variants, I mean, that makes sense. Ezreal Control variants, that makes sense. Spider Aggro is still up there. Interestingly enough, Burn Aggro is still up there. That's the kind of PNZ cancer. Oh no, this is not. This is yeah, it is. I lied. Yeah, it's like the PNZ cancer deck. I might actually just start playing that, man. I'm playing a lot of like the hyped noxious. Yeah, I mean, you just kind of get. I mean, if they like play any life game, you just concede and go to the next game. The games are so quick, you know. Like I don't know.
I mean, that's the deck that forced people to play life game. Like I don't think the deck's actually that good, but it is aggressive, and you only need to do like 10 to 12 damage with your creatures,
right?
Or you start burning them out.
Yeah,
it's like that's.
I might give that a run. I might give that a little whirl. See how I feel about it. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, nothing particularly interesting. War Mother's Control's listed here, but I haven't actually seen one in weeks. Yeah.
I don't think they've lost that like ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was good like day 2
of the nerf, yeah.
Yeah, it was because it was like you were playing Soul Gorgers and everyone was trying to burn you out. And you had like 3 Withering Whales in your deck too.
Yeah.
But alright, so hypothetically, you're playing in a $1 million tournament tomorrow. It's like huge stakes. You really want to win. And it's best 2 out of 3 with 2 different decks. What would you bring? So if you had to put your
best 2 out of 3 with 3 different decks?
No, so you have to win with 2 decks. 2 out of 3.
So you're only allowed to bring 2 decks.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel like my answers are indicative of what I'm playing on ladder. I guess is the interesting thing to this scenario here. I feel like personally, I think one of the best decks in the format is Ionia Shadow Isle Control. I'm talking the Harrowing, Ruination, Soul Gorger, Mono Removal, Withering Whale, the 5 mana, deal 3, game 3.
It's like Spooky Karma.
Yeah.
Would you play Hecarim?
No.
I guess no. Okay, it's just Karma.
Yeah. And then my second deck is going to be Elusives.
I do think. I know it's been called Spooky Karma. I don't know what the official name is, but I know the deck you're talking about. I like that deck. I think it's pretty well positioned in a lot of matchups. The only problem I've ever had with it is it feels like a lot of your answers are a little specific, and I don't know if you would be playing the Deathmark version with Dark Water Scourge. Most people do.
Yeah.
Super powerful, a little high rolly, I think. I don't know. I do like that deck though. I think it's favored against Elusives, which Elusives to me is the objective best deck, and then the meta's kind of warped around that, where everyone is kind of trying to play decks that have a chance against it. I mean, I could see that. What would you be afraid of? Do you know, playing those 2 decks?
Yeah, I do. I would be afraid of Ezreal decks. So those decks are very scary to me. I play an Ezreal deck a lot on ladder. I play hypes, like I said. And I win a lot of games that I didn't think I was going to win or I shouldn't have won. And that happens on the opposite side too, where I'm winning, I'm at 10, they untap, and then they progress day, and they get like 5 spells worth of burst that I can't interact with, and the Ezreal kills me, and I'm like, well, I didn't see that happening. I didn't see that coming. And then if they're playing the Draven versions, they get the spinning axes, right? And I've been in games where I had 6 spinning axes in my hand. Even if I'm just pitching them to themselves, it's 3 free spells, right, at burst speed. So there's a lot of weird things that happen with that deck, and that's the deck that scares me the most. It's the one that I'm unsure how to play against the most. Like, I find myself asking a lot of times, depending on the decks that I'm playing, like, should I be playing creatures? Like, I'm not like an aggro deck. I don't have to play creatures right now. Like, I don't want to give him counters on his Ezreal. And then holding an answer for Ezreal sometimes isn't enough, because sometimes you just die when they play it. So I don't know. Like, it's the deck that scares me the most, and it's the one that makes me the most uneasy.
Yeah, I think weirdly enough, I don't know what Spooky Karma is supposed to be bad against, but I know it's supposed to be favored there, and it's supposed to be favored against Elusives. And this was one of the original decks that was kind of created to fight the like burn, cancer, PNZ decks.
Yeah.
So, like, what does that leave? I guess maybe their fearsome matchup's bad or something.
I've lost to fearsome decks before, but it's usually off some like BS like mark turns where they have more than one. And I use a removal spell or a double withering whale, and then they still hit me for like 9, and that's me behind. That's usually how I lose that match. But it's usually pretty stable. I mean, there's a reason I think it's the best deck in the format.
Randomly, I know I literally called this not a deck like 5 minutes ago, but I imagine your War Mother's Call matchup is atrocious.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but I don't know. Nobody plays. I'm not afraid of that because nobody plays it.
Yeah, you also have denies. So
yeah,
if you hit those, you're probably fine.
You're right. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like that deck a lot. I think the games I've lost with it are because, I was like, if I drew whale when I really needed a grasp against like specific individual targets, or I don't know. I feel like I don't lose with it very much. I think the biggest problem I could see with the fearsome deck is you have to answer Hecarim on curve, and it's really hard to death mark those decks because if they're smart, they'll save Glimpse when they can to stop it.
So what are your 2 decks?
What would my 2 decks be? So I would expect going in a lot of people to be playing Ezreal, especially the better players, and weirdly enough, I would not expect a lot of fearsomes. I think I would kind of expect elusives or them like doubling down on control decks, like
Mm-hmm.
Karma and an Ezreal deck or something.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
In that meta, I definitely would not play the deck I've been playing. Yours pretty bad. So leaves you with. I would probably play Hecarim Rally. Like that's the deck I have the most reps with overall, and I actually think that deck's pretty well positioned against Ezreal for the most part. If especially the Draven version, if they're playing Freljord, they can high roll you with Elnux. Um, and I would want to play Ezreal myself. I don't feel confident in my Ezreal abilities right now, but presumably if there's a tournament, I would be putting a ton of effort
Practicing
in
for you.
sure that I could play the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So those would probably be my two. Like Hecarim and Ezreal.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Those are powerful cards, good decks, good good archetypes are wrapped around them. So that makes they are OP. Yeah, I do think they're still too strong. I think, but that's
Really?
really, yeah. I think Mark's. I don't know how I feel about Mark. At times I'm like maybe that card needs to be evaluated, but then at other times I'm like
Honestly,
it's.
I'm surprised Mark doesn't get complained about more than it does. I
Well, that's
actually
the
thought
thing. I think
before the
most.
first wave, I thought Mark was one of the best cards in their deck.
I think most people are. It's just an innocuous card, man. I think most people. That's a card that needs serious evaluation because it. If anybody who plays any card game does look at that and say, well, it's not doing much. But the way that this game plays, it's very powerful. And then there's the random situations where like a death mark gets cast, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that wasn't until the end of the turn, right? Like,
Right.
and you're like, man, the card has so many weird uses, and it's just very powerful. It's very good at fizzling, culling strikes and burn, but does that matter? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if it matters in the grand scheme of the game balance
Right.
around it. I can tell you, pre-patch when I played a ton of Shadow Isles and PNZ was kind of just starting to catch on. I attribute a lot of the wins to Hecarim. Obviously, I think that's the most overtuned Shadow Isles card at this point. But I don't think he should be obliterated for context. But a lot of times, like they always pass one, you always pass one. So you go into turn two, you both have 3 mana. You play an Elise, and their two options to kill it were get excited or Thermo Beam for 3, right? And anytime they had one of those, and I had Mark, I literally felt like I could not lose the game if they did that. I marked to stop it and hit them for 6 that turn. Like, and that's probably not true. Like probably wasn't the only deciding factor, but it felt like just a disgusting like tempo swing that made the game a lot harder for them. Like it's just it turned into 1 mana deal 6 damage,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because that was a creature that was going to die.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I mean, it's a frustrating card that you have to respect. So, but once again, in the grand scheme of Runeterra balancing, I don't know. Do you lower, the effect of what it's doing? Do you increase the mana? Do you leave it alone? I mean, that's a tricky card to balance.
yeah. I mean, also to be fair, I feel like I play a lot of games where it comes down to does my opponent have their best 1 mana trick in like the early turns where the tempo really matters. All the time, like I'm playing against elusives, and I'm like, please God, do not have Elixir of Iron. Like I need this Mystic Shot, whatever you just played.
Yeah.
And when they don't have it, it's you can't even like breathe a sigh of relief. It's just like the outcome that was supposed to happen with these 2 cards. But when they do have it, it feels like got put in a tempo black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember 2 games specifically playing the Zed deck where both games I had a spell mana banked going to turn 3. I'd play a Zed, they'd cast Calling Strike, and like I would Radiant Strike in response, and felt like the game was over. Like you lost your whole turn, a card, and 3 mana, and took 8 damage and now I have level up Zed. Like, how do you ever win?
This could be one of those situations similar to Magic the Gathering, right? Where the game's been out for so long, and they didn't know what the implications of their design space was, or the true implications of their design space was, and they're still kind of figuring that out, right? Like, what's the one like Tombstalker? What's that mechanic called? Delve, right? So like Delve is a mechanic that they for a while didn't seem to really understand.
It was only printed twice, right? There was once where it was like a preview mechanic in
Time Spiral, yeah, 2004ish.
It was on some pretty. I mean, Tombstalker was a good card. Don't get me wrong, but it was at the end of the day, none of the effects were creating card advantage.
They were never draw
threes. It was
a
creature, and it was a removal spell. Like, I don't even remember what that one's called. Last Gasp, maybe.
No, not Last Gasp.
Either it was like a conditional Doomblade or something.
Mm-hmm.
Delve. And when they brought it back, like you said, they clearly didn't understand the implications. This time it got put on some blue cards that created card advantage, and also Gurmag Angler, which is
the creature, the black creature.
The creature, yeah. So a worse creature than Tombstalker, right? They both cost 7. Gurmag Angler had 1 less mana symbol. I guess it meant that
you could splash it, you delve more, yeah.
And so play it for 1 instead of 2, which was a huge deal in Eternal formats.
So I mean, that might be what's going on here, right? Where the game is so early. Maybe 10 years from now, if in a world, I mean, Hearthstone's approaching its 10th year, right? So maybe 10 years from now, in a world where Runeterra is, popular and esports are amazing, and we all have the tournament scene that we wanted from Runeterra, and there's a ton of money poured into it, and it's really fun to play, and they're in their billionth content release. Maybe Mark gets nerfed, right? Or maybe it gets banned, right? Or something happens to Mark.
Comes out like that.
Right, yeah, because they finally understand the game and the design implications. We're so early that it would be. I certainly don't have the confidence to say, no, this card's bad or this card's good, right? I mean, you can make estimates based off of how the meta is shaped currently, but that card is such a good example of something seemingly innocuous that might have some problems, and it's just really hard to tell.
Well, I think it's literally 3 cards specifically. I think it's Elixir of Iron, Radiant Strike to the least extent, and Mark of the Isles. And I think it's because right now, in my opinion, most of the 1-drops in this game aren't very good. And especially in elusives, you nerfed their best 1-drop. So the only one they really want to play on 1 is Omen Hawk. Like, they'll play either of them if they have Conspirator. But either way, there's not a ton of 1-drops in decks because they're just not that good.
Yeah.
So you're starting your curve on 2, and you have a spell mana banked a lot of the time. So all 3 of these combat tricks that are boosting your toughness, which we've even seen, I think Riot knows how important toughness is in this game. A lot of their buffs have been toughness related.
Yeah.
So you're now playing. I feel like it really starts to matter on turn 3, where you're playing your first threatening creature. Maybe turn 2 if it's Conspirator or Elise, are kind of threatening 2-drops.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, none of the removal on curve feels like it trades well against these 1-mana tricks.
Yeah.
That people just have a lot because they didn't play a 1-drop, because their deck doesn't have a lot of them.
Spell mana also introduces some interesting resource analysis and evaluation, right? These spells also feel free. I mean, it's one of the reasons that Deny was nerfed, right? It just felt free at 3, so they needed to make it cost 4.
Yeah, which was a very effective nerf, in my opinion. I mean, the card still gets played, but it feels a lot more fair. I'll say that.
So imagine a world where Mark gets pushed to 2.
I think it's a huge game changer. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still 2-mana combat tricks that are good. I think Brothers Bond is very good, right?
Yeah.
But for a card like Mark, I think that could be a death knell for that card potentially, because it does have its own downsides as efficient as it is.
Right. Yeah.
And like I don't think you can ever make like Elixir of Iron 2 mana. So that card's not playable.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's an interesting space.
You can also shift them from burst to fast, right? Like there's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of design space with those cards that can be explored, and I'm sure Riot's doing their due diligence to test them. It would be interesting to see if we can get some insights on that and what the results from their playtesting sessions were internally.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to switch any combat tricks from burst to fast, most people would probably rather be the cheap ones, right? Like you don't want your back to back to get blown out by something because you're investing so much mana into it.
Yeah.
Your Elixir of Iron being fast, it's like, okay, if they had another Vile Feast or something, then they're trading like 4 mana for 1. They probably should get it, right?
Right.
It's just fair.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I wonder how much actually changes, right? Like, probably not much. If I'm removing somebody in combat and they mark, I don't know. There's a world where maybe I want to spend more mana in another spell for it, but it might. I don't know. It definitely changes. I don't know how much it does, right? I don't know if that's the call, but
yeah, I think it changes a lot. I love playing against the PNZ Noxus decks just because I literally know like PNZ has no combat tricks, basically. They have one that's not played. And then Noxus, all of their combat tricks only increase their toughness. So every time I cast a removal spell, I know it's going to happen. And I just like, I feel like I load into that game, like I lean back, and I'm like, wow, this is relaxing, dude. No stress ever in casting my Mystic shots. Like, this is great. But you play against Freljord one time, man. Feels like they always have the elixir.
All right, well, we're a little past our goal of 30 minutes here, so let's wrap things up. I want to end on one quick question. Who is your favorite Runeterra streamer at this moment?
Mine is Navi Oot, just based off like a long history of watching him play Hearthstone. I'm gonna split my answer and cheat. I think my favorite Runeterra specifically streamer, like to learn Runeterra, is Hyped. Or Liquid Hyped, maybe. I'm not sure what his tag is on Twitch.
Well, no, I was going to answer in the same way. I think Hyped is the most informative streamer. He is the rope coach of Runeterra, but he thoroughly works through it all. He externalizes his thoughts. It's really informative. If I'm trying to get better, I'm watching him. But Naviute, and I did not watch Naviute during Hearthstone, but he is hilarious. I mean, if you so he conveniently comes on around the time where I'm getting ready for bed, so I'll just put a stream on and just kind of hang out, and it's really fun and it's really funny, and I have a blast watching Naviute. And luckily I don't think they usually stream at the same time, so I don't usually have to make that decision on who I'm supporting. But
sometimes there's like a little overlap.
A little bit overlap, yeah.
The Australia time helps a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, all right, cool.
Kind of officially a marble streamer at this point.
Yeah, he does a lot of marbles. I haven't won one yet either, but
dude, I believe in you.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to win. I guess you get
the Masters. Hey, don't get second.
Yeah, just don't get second. Yeah.
Second, get banned.
Yeah, okay. I'm curious to know if I've donated enough subs to still get banned. I'm trying to buy my safety. No, there's no protection.
No reprieve.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So we did not produce any additional content like we said we were. We're still brainstorming on the format. A couple of other podcasts have come out. So we're trying to find our place in the grand scheme of the community and what we want to do and how we're going to do it. So if you have any suggestions, let us know. This stream will get placed on YouTube tomorrow, following our release schedule. And comment, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and really let us know what you want to see, or if you have any suggestions for us, let us know. We're really receptive and we're really open. I mean, if you look at our first episode and second episode all the way to now, we've changed quite a bit. The way that we present what we talk about, the length and duration of the show, all of that is due to our viewer feedback. So we're very receptive and eager to address anything that you guys might think would be beneficial. So just let us know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we keep complimenting him enough, maybe this can become a TriCast with Naviute every week.
Yeah.
That's the dream. Or ride his coattails.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and end the stream now. Signing off. It's Medina and Michael. So see you guys next time.